Hello, everyone. I just wanted to give a quick demo of the latest version of PhotoCuller, version 1.5 that has just released. So this is a big update that includes lots of small refinements all throughout the application and a few big highlight features that I would like to show. So the first thing that I will like to show you is PhotoColor now has a light theme. So I got quite a few requests from people wanting to have light theme support. So now PhotoColor has that. So I'll just start off by switching to the new light theme. So if you go into the settings, there's a new appearance section here. And by default, it will adhere to your system settings. But you can override that and set it to either light or to dark. So I'll go ahead and change it to light, and you'll now see Watercolor now has a light theme. So I'm sure this will make some of you quite happy. Um, the next highlight feature I would like to showcase is a new face panel. So PhotoColor now has face detection, and it can basically show you all the faces inside of an image. So I have this folder of stock images loaded with lots of people, and I'll just demonstrate the feature here. So if we open up full view and press the G key on your keyboard, this will open up the face panel. And so on the right side here, you'll see the grid, and there's 3 faces in this photo. And you can click on any one of these photos or faces, and it will zoom into that face. So you can quickly check the sharpness and focus and the expression, all that kind of stuff. When you zoom in, you can pan around on this, and you can use the scroll wheel as well to pan around, and you can just click to zoom back out. So if I go for the photos, you'll see it has all the faces in here. So that's a new addition. So that's going to be useful for portrait photographers as well as event or wedding photographers as well. So hope that's a useful feature for some of you. The next improvement is the workflows. So the workflows system has been changed slightly, where there's 2 things. First, I've added this new workflows panel on the right sidebar. So now you have access to all of your workflows right from the side panel. And the next thing is I have separated the filters from the workflows. So I'll demonstrate that to you now, just to make that clear how that works. So we'll just start by creating a new workflow. And I'll just call this demo for this video here. So most of it is pretty familiar, but there's 2 things that have changed here. So the first is the item source. So this now defines where the images are coming from. So the default option here is visible items. So that means anything that's visible within the grid. If you set a filter, such as a star rating filter or a color label or anything else, then those are the visible items, and that's what will get routed into that workflow. The next option here is current selection, so that will just be whatever you have selected in the grid will get routed to the workflow. There's all items, which means everything that's loaded in the folder, regardless of your selection or filters. And then there's the new filter presets. So I will come back to that in a moment. I just want to showcase the next feature that was added here, and that is the processing steps. So workflows can now do processing on your images. So if I click the add step here, it brings up this little menu, and there is now some new options added here. So the first one is extracting embedded JPEG. So if you have raw files that have the embedded JPEG, this will let you quickly extract those. So that's really useful for photographers that have assistants culling their photos rather than sending them the raw files. They just send them the embedded JPEGs so they can quickly cull the photos for them and then just come back with the results of the best photos. So that's one new addition. There's converting raw to JPEG. There is resizing images, a new watermark feature, and framing an image, stripping the metadata, and applying a template. So obviously some of these are not applicable to raw files. For example, you cannot resize a raw, or you cannot apply a watermark to a raw, but this will basically convert the raw into a JPEG. So if we click on one of these, you'll get a sub options. So for resize image, you can choose which edge to constrain the image on, the size of the image, and yeah, some of these have various options here. So watermark will allow you to apply a watermark over your image, and frame lets you I'm not sure how to describe it, but if you're familiar with Instagram, where they have a limited aspect ratio of 4:5, and you want to post your portrait images there, then this lets you frame the images inside a colored background, so you can retain your aspect ratio. So you'll see here aspect ratio 1:1, and all the common ones here. So I use this to post sometimes on Instagram. So this is now built into PhotoCuller, where you can add these frames to your photos, in a workflow. The rest of it is pretty much the same. There's one quality of improvement here, which is template variables. So there's now an autocomplete system. So if you type the opening brace, you'll now see this autocomplete pop-up window show with all the variables. So it will complete as I type. So if I type year, you'll see all the year options show up, and you can hit tab to complete the selection, or you can hit enter. So that's a nice new addition. There's also been a lot of new variables added to PhotoCuller 1.5. So PhotoCuller now actually has support for many of the same variables that Photo Mechanic has, including the names that they use. So if you're coming from the Photo Mechanic world and you have those variables set in your mind already, you can actually just use those variables directly here, and they would still work, and they would map to the equivalent PhotoCuller variable for you. The other thing that was added was nice little help tooltips. So I've tried to add these little tooltips to explaining all the functions wherever I could. So that's a nice little addition. So rather than having to go out to the documentation, you can actually get a lot of help right inside the application. And now I will show the filter presets. First, let me set a folder here so the warning goes away. So if I click this new filter presets, this has the filtering system that you're used to from the prior version. So I'm just going to call this demo, and I'm going to add a rating filter. So a new addition here is now a lot of options have this is and is not. So you can do rating is 3-star, or you can do rating is not 3-star. And then, of course, you can combine multiple rules. You can and or different rules to really get the filters you want. For this demo, I will just keep it simple, and I will set up a filter rule for rating is 3-star. So everything that used to be within the workflow has now been moved into filter presets. And what that lets you do is reuse this preset, this filter, across multiple workflows. And you can also use these filters on the main grid, which I will show in just a moment here. So I will create this filter preset. And under items, you'll see it says demo. So you have the same thing I just showed earlier, visible item, current selection, all items, and then any of your filter presets will show here. There was also this addition of the grid preview. Maybe I'll just take a moment to show this. So when you go into a filter preset, yeah, we can show a grid preview. You can say dim non-matches. So if I do this, it basically shows me the photo that's going to match this filter, which is a 3-star filter. So you'll see this photo is still light color where everything else is dim, or we can make it show matches only. So this is showing there's only 3 photos in this folder that match 3-star. So that's a nice little way you can quickly preview your filters. So now you'll notice on the right side here, we now have the workflow that we just set up. So if you have more than one workflow, they will show up in the list here. And you can run multiple workflows by just selecting the ones you want to run. So you'll notice when I click on it, it turns into a selected state. So if you have a list, you can click and choose different ones. And in the top right corner here, you'll see it says demo. So this is showing that it's going to use my demo filter. And you can change the filter right here on the side. So let's say I wanted to run this for the visible items, then it would run across everything that's loaded in this grid here. Or if I want to run it on my demo filter, then it would use that. So obviously it would make sense to give it more of a descriptive name so you know what the filter actually is. But this allows you to quickly change the filtering. So if I only want to run, say, this workflow on the selected images, I can then select this range of image, and I can now run this workflow on that selection. So the other thing you can do is now use those filter presets to filter in the grid. Now, the example that I'm using is a bit of a contrived example since I can just filter by 3-star by clicking on this or on the star rating. But let's say you had a more complex filter setup where you had like a conditioned for star ratings between this and that, and color label includes this but doesn't include that. Then this would show up under this new icon in the toolbar, which lets you apply a filter preset to the main grid. So if I click on demo, you'll now see it's only showing the 3-star images. So when you're using this, it's going to disable the other filters since the two are not quite compatible with each other. Since these are just simple filters, where the filter presets are the more complicated and or conditions. So when you're using these filters, it's going to disable everything else. But yeah, so it lets you quickly apply filters for more complex filtering capabilities within PhotoCuller. Let's see. So the next thing I wanted to showcase was the new loop view in full view. So when you open up full view, there's now a loop view with the Z key that will zoom in. So if I press zoom, Z, it will basically zoom into the center, and it will allow you to pan quickly around the image with the arrow keys or with WASD. So it basically splits the image into a 3x3 grid, or 5x5 or 9x9, depending on how far your zoom is. In this case, it's just a standard 2x zoom, so it does a 3x grid. And it lets you quickly pan around without using the mouse. There's also been a few adjustments or settings to tweak the behavior of this zoom. So right now, it's set to zoom to cursor. So if I put my cursor over this man's face over here, it will zoom in to his face. Or if I set it over here, it will zoom in there. And these are settings that you can change in the settings menu under full view. There's a new loop section here. And under keyboard zoom behavior, there's zoom to cursor and zoom to center. So if I set this to zoom to center, it will always zoom to the center regardless of where my cursor is. There's also the option to disable the zoom animations. And there's also the option to retain zoom on navigation. So by default, zoom would reset when you navigate to new images. But with this setting here, it will remember the zoom. So you'll notice it's zoomed in on every photo because it's remembering my zoom setting. So if I zoom in really far and navigate to the next photo, it's going to remember that. So that's now a setting under full view. The settings panel itself has been cleaned up a lot. Again, these little help tooltips have been added in many places to help describe what features are and what they do. I think there's not much new that was added here that I can recall. Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same as what was in 1.4, so nothing new to highlight there. And the next feature that or improvement that was added was IPTC templates. So in our templates, we now have support for importing from Photo Mechanic. So if you were coming from Photo Mechanic and you have a whole bunch of IPTC templates that you set up, you can now import those into PhotoColor. So if I click on the add preset, you'll notice this import from Photo Mechanic, and I have this sample file here. And yes, it lets you carry over all of your presets from Photo Mechanic. So hopefully that's helpful for those of you who are coming from that software. The next addition, since it was actually released in 1.4, one of the later releases, but haven't demoed it on video, is there's now a bulk IPTC editor in the right panel. So if I select multiple images, you can now apply and edit across that selection. So you can just enable the fields that you want to edit, and you can just type in here, and it will apply that to those images here. In the top right corner of the section headers, you may have noticed there's a gear icon here. So this lets you customize what fields are enabled or visible in the editor. So you can really customize it to just the fields that you care about in your workflow. And so a lot of these panels now have this settings icon. So the IPTC editor has one, file info has one where you can pick and choose what metadata it gets shown. And under statistics, you can also choose what gets shown in there as well. So those are the main things there. Another thing that I would like to showcase is in the settings under full view, you can now customize the metadata panel that shows up in the full view. So for example, I could add year, lens, camera model, all of that. And if I just go to a photo here, you'll see this panel now demonstrates or shows what I just added there. So you can now customize what that panel shows and tailor it exactly to what you want. I think that's the most of the new features that were added. So again, everything else is mainly about refinements. I think actually the search feature wasn't shown in the previous video. So you can now search across your images. So if I search for this photo number, it will search that. There's all these options under here where you can choose what to search for. So you can search across your metadata and all of that. Actually, another feature was you can rename photos within the grid itself. So if I hit enter, you'll notice the file name field here actually turns into a text field. And you can actually just quickly rename a photo right here in the grid without using the rename tool if you already know what you want to rename a photo to. So that was another nice little addition that was added, and it was actually sometime in the last release, 1.4. There's been a bunch of new sort filters added. So you can sort by more options here. And yeah, one other thing that was added is a workflow log. So right now, if I were to load in that other stock photo that I was showing, so this filter preset, if I just do select all here, and I select this. So I'm going to run this one workflow that matches across 41 photos here. And you'll see progress as the workflow is running and shows you exactly what's done. And there's this new button that will show up here. This is a new log panel. So whenever you run a workflow, you will see a log of everything that was done. So this is a development build, so I have it set to simulate some errors. So that's why you're seeing like these skips and stuff like that. But It will show you that which workflow it was, what operation was done, and then where the file came from and where it went to. So this is a nice way to see clearly what your workflows are doing. So that's a new little panel that was added. There is also a new tools menu with a client selection feature. So this one is more for photographers who send a list of files to their customers or clients, and then they report back with a list of file names that they like. Then you can then take that and put it into this panel to then automatically select those files, or you can also choose by the numbers. Um, so if they say, oh, I like photo number 1, 3, 10, 14, 22, 26, etc., you can actually just copy and paste that list into this box, and it will select those photos for you, which then you can then do your exports and edits on there. So if I go into the view menu, there's this new show image numbers, and you'll see it overlays the image number on there. So you can say, oh, if your customer likes photo number 14, then you can quickly identify photo number 14, provided you're using the same sort order when you provided those image. So that was another little addition that was added as well. There's been a lot of keyboard shortcuts added everywhere. So in the menu, you'll see many more options now have key bindings attached to them. And so that was another improvement that was done in this release. So I think that's about it for the quick little demo here. So as always, if you have any feedback or any other feature requests, you can reach out at any time. And thank you for your support and taking the time to watch this video. Thank you.